The recall election is tomorrow, and thousands of San Diegans still have not cast their ballots. We're joined this morning by one of the candidates looking to unseat Governor Newsom. We want to say good morning to Assemblyman Kevin Kiley. Good morning, and thank you for stopping by here to talk with us for a few minutes.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Shelley.
Anybody who has either of those mail-in ballots, if you opened it up, I mean, it's not something that we've really seen. It's name after name after name, and the names and the list just keeps going and going. You're one of more than 40 people running to unseat the governor. What makes you different than all those other names on the list?
Yeah, and I'm really gratified by the momentum we've had that my name's risen to near the top of the list, and I thought the momentum has continued to grow. I think the most important contrast is the one between me and Gavin Newsom, where he has, governed in service of special interests and his own political interests. I would govern in service of the public interest. Now, as far as the other folks on the ballot, I am the only one who's actually been at our Capitol as a member of the California legislature, fighting these battles, fighting to restore integrity to state government. I've seen exactly how broken our state government is, and I know how to go about fixing it on day one.
You say about coming to the top of the list, and if I could take a moment, there was a new poll that just came out recently from Insight California and Emerson College, and on the list, they have Larry Elder leading that list at 30% of the candidates who are on there right now, and they have you at 4%. And Larry Elder is the only person with double-digit numbers. What is your response when you see these polls? And we're putting it up here for you right now. Kevin Faulconer, former San Diego mayor, also at 4%. When you say you're leading this pack, how so?
Well, I mean, if you see at the poll there, we're tied for second among, the field of Republican candidates, and my campaign's been going on for 2 months. And the important thing is, most ballots are still out. You're going to have a lot of folks voting on Election Day, and we've seen our support grow everywhere we go. And what's important first and foremost is that folks come and vote yes on the first question as well. And so, I'm very happy with where things stand with our campaign. On the ground where I go, every corner of the state, I'm seeing an unbelievable level of energy and enthusiasm, and I think we're going to have a very strong showing tomorrow.
Energy and enthusiasm, you say, but there are critics who say that this recall is quite expensive, and in this poll and also in other polls, it's showing that many people want to keep the current governor in office, especially because his term is supposed to end next year. What would your response be to them?
Well, first, the only reason this is happening so late is because, our political class has overhauled the recall laws and has kind of pushed this whole thing off. They're supposed to happen much quicker. As far as the cost goes, when you look at something about like how much money the state wasted through fraud at the EDD office, that's hundreds of times more in cost than the recall. So, if you're someone who is for the recall, and it brings about better governance, I mean, you're like someone buying Disney stock in the 1960s. The return on investment is off the charts. And so this is a unique opportunity for the people of California to demand change and to put their mark directly on our state government. It's become the greatest citizens movement in California history, and we now have 36 hours to get it across the finish line.
I want to talk about an issue that many Californians, it's a hot button issue. People are talking about the mask mandates, especially in schools. Where's your stance on that?
Well, at this point, we have had a state of emergency for 1.5 years. And so the first thing I would do is to terminate the state of emergency. Other states have done that. We have gotten to the point where we need to place trust in individual citizens and return power to local communities and their citizens rather than having one person dictate these things for 40 million Californians. And so I would roll back those mandates by terminating the state of emergency and take the more balanced and science-based approach that other states that have gotten better outcomes during the COVID era have taken.
Do kids need to wear masks at school?
That's up to their parents.
That is up to their parents to decide.
Correct.
But you just said for it to be science-based, you should follow the science?
Well, that's correct. And if you look at other countries, for example, first of all, in our country, California is one of a minority of states that has a statewide mask mandate. And if you look at other countries like in Western Europe, like the United Kingdom, they've said we're not doing masks for elementary school kids because what the science shows is that the harms to a child's development far outweigh any benefits. And those benefits, by the way, have not been very clearly established. Now, these things probably play out very differently from child to child, which is why it should be in the hands of parents to make the decision as to what's best for their child. But I'll say one more point. This underscores the need for California to embrace school choice. If we had a real system of school choice in California, then a parent who wants to send their child to a mask required school could do that. A parent who wants to send their child to a mask optional school could do that. But the special interests that basically run the governor's office in this state have done everything in their power to take those kinds of choices away from parents.
If you were to win this election, obviously this pandemic would be a huge challenge that you would need to face. What other things are important to you to face if you took office?
Well, I'd say, first of all, the people of California have sent a clear message that the era of corruption is over. I've seen all too clearly in my 5 years as a member of the legislature that we have a state capital, a political class that does not serve the public interest. It's why we continue to pay more and more in taxes, and we get less and less in return as our quality of life declines. We sacrifice the most as Californians, and we get the least in return. We pay the highest gas taxes while driving over the deepest potholes. So there is a whole host of issues that would need to be addressed right off the bat. Homelessness, the cost of living, our failing public schools, rising crime rates. But once we restore integrity to state government and have elected officials who are actually there to serve the people of California, we'll be able to start solving all of those problems.
Just to mention, if you do have one of those mail-in ballots, you have until tomorrow to get that postmarked the 14th and send that in. If you don't win tomorrow, and based on some of the numbers that are coming out, it looks likely like the governor will stay in office. As you said, there's many people who have still not voted yet, so we will find out over the next few days. If you don't win, will you run again next year?
Well, I'd say we have 36 hours for this whole thing to be decided, and it is very much up in the air. So I'd tell folks, please make sure to vote yes, to find my name, Kevin Kiley, on the second question on your ballot. There are a few Kevins, so make sure to find the last name, Kevin Kiley. And I am not thinking past 8 o'clock tomorrow. I don't even know what I'm going to have for breakfast the next day, because we have just this very narrow window of time now to make sure that we get out every vote. But I will say this, that this has become a movement of millions of Californians. I've been very humbled to play a small part in it, and I am committed to turning this state around, and will be in this fight for the long haul no matter what happens tomorrow.
We appreciate you stopping by here at Fox 5, Assemblyman Kevin Kiley. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.